Good morning, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to a good friend, Zev Samuel from Toronto. How you doing, Zev?
Very good.
Good. You're always smiling, so that's good. So you're a longtime seller. I find your posts and insights always extremely logical and insightful. And you're also a business consultant. And I know you post a lot about we're all for compliance, but like I always said, if the compliance rules don't make sense, and if a legitimate seller doesn't have a path to, do this, and then you're legit, and then you're going to stay on Amazon, the loser is Amazon, the sellers and the buyers. And that idea, I think, has resonated with everyone. And you did a post of some suggestions which you can suggest to Amazon executives in the jewelry space, which improvements which they can make. So I guess tell me what the issues are and what they can do to improve it, and then hopefully somebody in Amazon will contact you.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. And second of all, I do want to mention first, it's a great opportunity for me to sell on Amazon, and I'm really thankful for that. It's a great space, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. I've been selling on Amazon for over 10 years, and it's been really nice. I am for like I'm a father of five children, and I'm very thankful that I think Amazon is at the forefront of compliance, especially in child safety. So I'm very thankful for that. And that's extremely important. However, I've been doing this since 2019 is when they started the child safety compliance. And I've been doing cases. I've done, I could say, easily over 1,000 cases for child safety. I know my way around that area, and I want to give some suggestions. There are some things where I believe would make it much easier. What the first thing that I want to mention is that like when I put new products on I sell, it's not toys, I'm selling children's jewelry, so I could list a few hundred pieces at a time. So when I list my new pieces, I could let's say do 200. So I send Amazon Child Safety an email that I would like to list these products, right? Or I just put them up. I have all the certificates in place. I want to get them approved. You get a response. We don't deal with it until we flag it. So they wait a year or so, right? They make sure I mean, it's not intentional, of course, but your items start becoming bestsellers and whatever, and then one day, I don't know what triggers it, right? It's nothing changed, and then suddenly, usually it's a sweep across because I'm hearing from my friends as well. They're across Amazon, something triggered it, and now they within the next 2 weeks, if you don't give, you don't give in the child safety certificates and everything, then we'll take down your listings. Now the issue that's first of all, I don't think that's fair because I could have done that. I have to stop everything, a few hundred listings, and I have to stop all the production in my office, right? And focus on this, which I could have done a year ago when I was ready. Second, right, that will be fine if we do that. Um, but then I don't get the response sometimes for 2 months. So now you waited, like we should have done this a year ago. I was ready, I had everything in place, and I do have everything in place. And then sometimes also they wait, and then maybe something is out of date or whatever it is. Allow me to do it right away. I do want to quickly say also, I state what the child safety for jewelry. One of the things I noticed is that Amazon likes to package everything like one thing, so they think jewelry is toys. It is two separate things, especially we're selling silver and gold jewelry. There's certain things that don't apply to that. Let's say something like phthalates testing. So the people that are working in this child safety team don't recognize that there is no testing for phthalates on silver or gold. That's it's a known thing if you're in this industry, or if you're in the testing industry, lab industry, or the jewelry industry, but it's something that their team does not know. And it's sort of like we have to always come back and tell them. And there are other couple things which I'll speak about, but definitely like toys are things that the kids play with in the family room, right? It's on the floor. You could have a choking hazard. You could have. So even though yes, we'll go through all the compliance, but the main thing, really, the main safety is that it shouldn't be toxic things inside the jewelry. Between me and you, and everyone knows that silver and gold, especially if you're buying by a reputable supplier, which we are, and most people, it's very hard to find silver and gold jewelry that are not compliant. But we are happy to go through the process. At the same time, we're legitimate sellers. And it's, instead of making it so complicated, it should be easier. I just want to go through it. So that's number one, is to allow us to, right when we list the item, we should right away be able to be, we have this stuff in place. We should be able to send that in. Um, the other thing I want to say is, let's say parent and child listing. I could submit, and this is really two I could submit a parent with, let's say 50 children. It's different colors, right? Which I'm allowed, or let's say 20 colors, or whatever the difference is. And they'll create each one as a separate case. So it's the same picture, the same lab test, everything is the same. And then sometimes not only that, but they'll accept some, and some of them they'll say that they won't accept. So that's somewhere where that's obviously something that can be fixed there. They should group all that together as one, and there shouldn't be a different outcome. And the same thing, even if it's not a parent-child, but sometimes exactly the same earring, the same document, we're sending in the same documents because it's the same batch, it's the same manufacturer, and they'll accept one and not the other. And honestly, it doesn't make any sense. So I think that's the other, parent and children for sure should be grouped in as one. But even not, when I should be able to, we should do it as batches. Creating, if we're able to upload in bulk through to the account health page, right, through an Excel sheet. But what
Mhm.
happens is that they create a separate case for every single ASIN. Now,
Right.
it's 250 cases at a shot, or 500 cases at a shot, and it's extremely overwhelming for the seller, and I'm sure it's overwhelming for the Amazon team as well. And that's a lot of mistakes happen from there. If I could do a batch and I say this is the same manufacturer, I'm sending in the same lab test, I'm saying everything's exactly the same. Let's do this batch. Let's get this done. Um,
Right.
and sometimes it could take 2 months. Sometimes it could take even up to 4 months to get accepted. And the original documents were perfect at the start. Everything was, it's just a matter of things just get like, when I send in my, let's say 100, 200 items in the Excel upload, maybe that night or the next night, this team is, by the way, a remote team because they'll only respond in the evenings. And we'll get a couple of responses that they accepted or whatever, and then they could wait 2, 3 weeks or a month, and that we won't hear a response on the rest of them. Um,
Have you ever spoken to this team?
So this team is not available to anybody, even Amazon agents, even the executives, I think, cannot speak to this team by phone. They're
Even
not
the
available to
suits.
speak to them. What? Yeah,
Even the
even
suits.
the highest levels, they're only available to them. Well, first of all, because the timing, the time zone. So what they do is they submit tickets to this. I have a lot to say about this team. I don't. I think it's better not to say that. But I do think that there's no oversight on the team. I think that's something that I can say easily. Especially, I understand that compliance people don't want issues, right? So if you're able to talk too much together, there could be issues. I think I get that. But at the same time, if you're not allowing anybody at Amazon to actually have direct contact to them
Right.
properly, it can be also that means there's no oversight, and there's sort of like things get stuck.
Right.
So most of my cases I resolve by sending emails to Andy Jassy and Jeff Bezos, honestly, like after 2 months. So yes, I have, let's say 60% or 70%, let's say, of that batch got accepted, and the rest are just like, there's no, it's in limbo. There's no yes and there's no no. And I sort of, okay, I'm waiting 2 months. I've got to get this. And I could have, let's say, sometimes up to 50 back and forths, meaning reminders, like I really want to get this case resolved. And eventually I escalate it enough times and it gets resolved. But I think it is ridiculous if I have all the compliance documents in check. So what you need is I just want to say this: you need a lab certificate, laboratory, accredited laboratory that Amazon recognizes. You need to have a child safety certificate, a child product certificate (CPC), which the manufacturer makes themselves or the brand owner makes themselves. You need to have a tracking label. So there's those three things. The tracking label means you have to have on the product or on the packaging, you have to have where it says, let's say, intended for 3 years plus, something like, if that's needed for the choking hazard. And then you also would need to have, which the most important, the tracking label means you have to be able to track it back where it was manufactured. So you have to have the contact and address for the manufacturer. So it's basic and it's simple, and it shouldn't be that complicated. What I do want to say other things that I've seen, that there's two ways to upload this. That you could do either by case through account health. You could either do upload, or you could do it through the account health one by one. Those two methods, they don't speak to each other in Amazon. And I've spoken to the executives about that. I've spoken to very high up in Amazon, and they recognize that those two. So if you're going to submit in one place, it will not recognize another place, and it won't know if it was
Right.
accepted. So if you do it through the upload, and then you talk to, let's say, account health, or you'll talk to any other team in Amazon, they won't know. They'll tell you your product is fine. They won't be able to even see that it
Right.
was there. So there are issues there. I think that, I mean, any normal company, especially a huge company like that, professional, the systems should be in sync. They should work together. Um, and what else? I've also seen, like, sometimes they'll send me an email saying you were accepted, that the product was accepted, and a few hours later or the next day, they'll say, please disregard our previous email. I've seen that, I could say, at least 100 times, if not more. So it's not like that's not like a glitch that happens once in a while. The other thing is I've noticed is that I do in Canada and the United States. So obviously they probably almost never do Canada. I'm just thinking. So what they have, the same agents are doing both, and they just copy and paste. So they're saying your product was accepted for USA, right? But really, on the email, you'll see in the title of the email, it says for the, they have the code for the marketplace, A2X or whatever. I forget what it is. So I know that they're talking about one marketplace, but in the email it says they accept it for the other marketplace. I really want that clear, like for the seller, which marketplace was it really accepted for? So I would go back, send them an email, and it would take 3 days or maybe a week or 2 weeks for them to finally say, please disregard that email. You were accepted for the Canadian marketplace. So the copy and paste, I think that system is pretty poor for a very professional company, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you see that they're copying and pasting. I mean, that's really, and they're not focused on what exactly they're doing. I don't even know if they know, when they're sending that email, which marketplace it's for, which to me seems that something amiss. Um, and then
Yeah,
also, I think.
let me ask you one
Mm,
question, if you don't mind. Do you
mm,
see other sellers going, like, taking shortcuts, like people in China who are just listing without issues?
okay, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. I will say something else, and again, I want to be careful about that, but I do, like, the Chinese are different than the U.S. because Chinese, we're, again, like I said, I'm married, I have a family, and I want to have a business that has continuation for many years. I'm not interested in any issues. I'm a straightforward person, and I'm obligated to follow the laws of the country. And whether it's Canada, United States, and there are consequences if someone doesn't do that. In other countries, it doesn't work that way. So they can go, like, when I work with the lab, the laboratory is accredited. Everybody has to make sure we're doing the right thing. Now, in other countries, it's very possible that the lab just writes them a certificate. It is very possible. So they have the certificates needed. Also, I do see that many of them are listing seemingly without issue. I don't know the response and the answer to that.
Right.
Sometimes they'll put in different keywords, like they really very well know how to manipulate the system. So there's no question, and I have many examples about that. But I can't I don't have anything in front of me concrete. But the U.S. sellers are definitely working really hard and putting in all they're spending the money on the the lab tests, and we're honestly we're spending hundreds of hours each year on this. I think it's too much for sellers. I think I want to make the systems more simple. And that's what I was going to get to. There's another example, which, like, when you're actually doing the product, let's say there are so many of my products, and I've heard from other sellers now as well this past week, many other sellers, they said that they don't sell for kids, and their listings were taken off for child safety, right? So they have to go back and appeal it to Amazon, and sometimes Amazon will accept it, won't accept it, and it's triggered based on some keywords.
Right.
um, Amazon does not give anybody an option to check off, like, this product is for 12 years plus, or this product is for, let's say in Canada, 16 years plus. That should be an option, like, all the way. And again, we're dealing with legitimate sellers. Like, I think for the most part, but I can't talk for everywhere, but I think for the most part, the American sellers are legitimate people trying
Sure.
to make a living. Now, I feel like the sort of the Amazon is coming to the sellers as if everybody is fraud, and then we'll
Yeah.
start with that, and then, which I think it will be much nicer if you come to us and say, you just check off first. start with the trust point. If there's anyone that's listing jewelry, is it for 12 years or plus, or if it's 12 years under? Let's all be straight about that. And I think that's like step one, that at least Amazon can have a starting point. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, they're saying sometimes, oh, put it in the last bullet point, or put it in here, and I'll put it in the last bullet point, and then they say, no, we still not happy with, we still think it's for children's. Now there's no indication, and I'll tell you something else. Let's say I put in the word teen, or I'll put in the word girl. Girl doesn't have to mean a child. And Amazon doesn't want me to put that. So the agents are saying that I have to take that word out, which I know from the past that the agents are not always, you know, they don't really know what it is, because I think if they're reading off a paper or whatever it is, but then I could tell you, like I spoke about, that it's an outsourced team. They're overseas. They're not. We're not dealing with people that are like really in this business for 20 years, that have a crazy amount of experience. They're not compliance people. They're
Yeah.
legit. They're really people that are outsourced to read off a piece of paper. So,
Right.
and
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, the reason for this group and why it keeps getting bigger and bigger is exactly this. Because we're legitimate sellers and you want to have a path to follow the rules, and to just throw down compliances on different, without context, then you get the 0% approval rating which U.S. sellers currently have, according to my latest poll. So, yeah, I mean, it's already going far. You want to finish in closing? I mean, I hope
yeah,
Amazon contacts you. Go ahead.
I think that it's not clear. The two things that are not clear. First of all, it's not clear to the sellers. They don't have a specific. Let's say just for the jewelry, for example, right? Let's say or toys, whatever it is. There is no clear-cut, concrete set of rules. What you could, let's say they say you can't have the word girl. You could have the word girl, right? If you write 12 plus, it's not a concrete rule anywhere. Not for the sellers, and not even for the compliance team. They don't have it in there, so they're
Mhm.
not sure. That should be, the rules should be 100% crystal clear. Um, and then when they are saying this triggered something, let's say girl is a trigger word, we should be able to know that exactly, at least come back and say that's a trigger word. Yeah, I do think that this can be done really easily, especially if we're doing 200 at a time or 500. I don't know exactly what Amazon expects, but it's very, very complicated to do so hundreds of cases and then come back. Each one is a different response, different case. I am hoping someone will contact me. I've been contacted in the past about different things about fraud, which we've seen, and I'm thankful for that. And I want to help Amazon and the sellers. It's a waste of time for Amazon support as well, because everyone's calling in trying to get help, and it's
Yeah.
it's hundreds of hours. And for the sellers, like I said, we're spending hundreds of hours a year just on the compliance, which I think can be resolved simply.
Yeah, outstanding stuff. And I super, super, super appreciate you coming on. This was a great interview. And hopefully someone reaches out. Amazon can contact you through LinkedIn. So thank you so
Yes,
much.
100%. Thank you so much. Be well. Thanks a lot.